Welcome to episode 13 of the Sports Management Podcast. Today is International Women's Day, and I can't think of a better person to talk to about women in sports than today's guest. She's the VP of Global Marketing at Bauer Hockey, where she and her team are behind several projects to support women in hockey. She's also a senior advisor to PWHPA, Professional Women's Hockey Player Association. Welcome, Mary-Kay Messier.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a great honor to be with you on International Women's Day.
Thank you so much for taking the time. Before we jump into all the great initiatives for the women's hockey, can you just tell us a little bit about your role as Vice President of Global Marketing at Bauer Hockey and what you're doing there?
Sure. Well, I'm very fortunate to be in the role that I am with such an incredible team at Bauer Hockey, the number one leading brand in the world of ice hockey equipment. And in my role, I basically, lead the team in all our marketing functions. And excitingly, we have, a creative team in-house. So that's really exciting because I believe the future in marketing is really around content. And I think our team does an amazing job of creating content that really resonates and engages, people in the hockey community all over the world. It also entails sports marketing. So all our elite athletes on the men's and the women's side, and how we bring products to life in the market. So in a way that is unique and represents and reflects the incredible innovation and technology that we have in all of our gear.
Yeah, and there are so many great initiatives to look back to. And I thought that before we jump into the women's hockey and of course on the International Women's Day, if we just jump back a little bit, everyone knows it was a difficult year, 2020. We had the COVID-19 pandemic. And Bauer did a great thing there when they shifted to PPE.
Yes, it was really incredible. I think, as hockey was shutting down, obviously our plants shut down as well. However, our people didn't. And our team in Blainville, which is, basically the NASA of hockey, where our engineers are, they started thinking about how could they help. Would there be any way they could put their skills and expertise to make a difference and help the frontline workers? I think many people in our company have relationships with frontline workers, whether doctors, nurses, first responders. And so they got together and figured out how they could create the medical shields and repurpose our plants to manufacture. And then, of course, it was up to us to figure out how to get them out to these frontline workers. So we went on the media, and within 48 hours, we had orders for over 1 million units. And I think, the story is so incredible because it really is about a team stepping up to really give back to the entire community. And our team not only led the march on creating and manufacturing face shields, but then also publishing what is generally considered trade secrets in how we manufactured and what we did with our plant to allow other companies to do the same and cut down on the time that it would take to ramp their plants up. And our team also worked incredibly hard to help facilitate those relationships. So I think for all of us at Bauer Hockey, it was one of the proudest moments of our team. And just to see, the impact of that and see our Bauer logo on these medical shields with people that were risking their lives to help support those in greatest need.
Yeah, a great way to give back to the first responders and everyone in the front line for sure. And then the next campaign after that was, I think, Can't Beat Hockey.
Yeah, we basically sort of pivoted from, although we continued to manufacture PPE and continue to help first line responders, we wanted to turn our attention to the hockey community that was also struggling to figure out a way how we could first and foremost support families and help keep their kids or get them back on the ice. So we did several initiatives all over the world to also help our retail partners. Just part of it was really sharing the energy that people felt around hockey, our resiliency as a community. And that's kind of the tagline, right? Can't beat hockey. You just, no matter what, we'll just continue to figure out how to make it work, whether that means playing on ice or playing at home or playing outdoors. And the second part of it was we launched a massive equipment relief donation where, we went into communities that were hardest hit by the pandemic and help parents get their kids back out on the ice.
That's great. Now, in 2021, it was Black History Month in February.
Mm-hmm.
And Bauer went together with some NHL athletes to remember Willie O'Ree.
Yeah, that was an incredible project. One, again, that we can be so proud of as a company. But basically, it was a collaboration of a lot of people coming together to make it work. It started with a really incredible product, our skate, but collaborating with Terry Smith, who's an incredible artist who, if people don't know, designed the San Jose Sharks logo. Eustace King, who is an amazing agent and represents Wayne Simmons and Willie O'Ree and JT Brown and other incredible athletes. He came together with us and Wayne Simmons, and they really worked together to design that graphic, which is so powerful. One of my favorite lines is Wayne Simmons refers to Willie O'Ree as their astronaut, and I just think that's so powerful. So the design, had words that are really meaningful and images and symbols. And then, of course, to get support from our NHL athletes on all different teams, supporting Black History Month, paying tribute to Willie O'Ree, who's a pioneer in our sport as the first player to break the barrier and become the first Black player in the NHL, and who still is making a difference today. So I think part of it is paying tribute and honoring, and part of it is recognizing that we still have a lot of work to do. And we need to continue to break down barriers. So we partnered with Black Girl Hockey Club that does amazing work to make the game more accessible, to provide scholarship opportunities for girls, for Black girls to play hockey. And all the proceeds from the game-worn skates that will be auctioned off by the NHL, as well as a T-shirt that we designed in combination with Terry Smith and Eustace King and Wayne Simmons. And we have that on Bauer.com, and all the proceeds go to Black Girl Hockey Club. So it's something that we're really proud of, and really proud of our athletes for stepping up and standing up for this important initiative.
Yeah, that's so great. And so great for a powerful player like Bauer Hockey to give back to the community and to help break down these barriers.
Really, really amazing to see people across the sport. Of course, Wayne Simmons was a big driver behind it, but there were so many other players, Jordan Greenway, Patrick Kane, so many players that joined in and, wore the skates in the game and, and also spread, helped us raise awareness by sharing on their social channels. So it was a great initiative, and people can look forward to when the NHL shortly here has all the skates and they can auction them off for a great cause.
That's amazing. And now, as we have said, it's International Women's Day, and Bauer has the initiative Women's Movement Never Stops. But that's not something new. This has been going for quite some time. So can you tell us a little bit about this initiative?
Yeah, a few years ago, we really stepped up to bolster our women's elite athlete roster and put them on an equal level with their NHL counterparts. So first it was ensuring that we feature these world-class athletes in our brand campaigns alongside the men. We then moved forward and created our first ever all-female athlete campaign with Marie-Philippe Glenn and Hilary Knight, which was really about paying tribute to these women as athletes first. And it showcased them in, really the powerhouses that they are, the way they train, the way they prepare, and the way they play the game. We followed that. Like you said, this has been going on for a while. Actually, with what is still our highest engaging piece of content, it was called Jewelry, and it was really a look at girls hockey and turning stereotypes on their heads. And what that really showed us is how much people care about making our game more accessible and more inclusive for girls and women, because it wasn't just girls and women that were engaging with that content. It was people across the entire hockey community. So we're really proud to have premiered the next edition, Women's Movement 3.0, which again takes a look at turning stereotypes on its head and really highlighting women's hockey for how great it is. And we have, an international player in Jenny Hirokoski in that as well, joining Hilary Knight and Marie-Philippe Glenn, making it truly a global effort and a global campaign. So really proud of the team on this one. And it'll be really interesting to see how people engage. I think it will be really powerful.
You're doing so much great work for women's hockey players through Bauer, but you're also personally, as I said in the introduction, you are a senior advisor for the Professional Women's Hockey Player Association.
Well, first, thank you. And I'd like to say that our entire Bauer team is really passionate and dedicated to supporting the girls and women. Of course, anything that comes across as success is typically the result of hard work by a lot of people, and it's really a team effort. So I'm so proud of our team at Bauer on how we've taken this on, not only to create awareness, to elevate women, but also to support the PWHPA in their mission to secure a sustainable professional women's hockey league. And why that is so important is, these women deserve this opportunity. They're the best players in the world, and they have an incredible product. And in addition to that, it's how we'll really grow the sport and create an entire pipeline of girls at all ages and all levels, because they need role models to aspire to and careers to aspire to. We want to make sure that girls can dream to play professional hockey. So we really believe and support and are a partner with the PWHPA in many ways. First, as an official equipment supplier and partner, but more importantly than that, I think is our support to elevate and raise awareness for their mission. And for me personally, in the role of senior advisor, I work on developing relationships with NHL clubs and broadcast and media partners, which I think both are really important. The first is partnerships with NHL clubs is so critical because it's a way to streamline operational efficiencies. The clubs have the operations in place, they have the infrastructure and the resources and the connection into communities. So by partnering with them, it really streamlines costs and also helps to elevate the game and also awareness with this broad community. And I think for the NHL clubs, obviously, it's so critical for them to have more girls and women as fans. And so creating this partnership, I think, is a win on both sides. And I've been very proud of some of the work that we've been able to, generate with the teams. The first game ever, the women making history, partnering with the New York Rangers and playing a game at Madison Square Garden last weekend.
Yeah, that was great. Amazing opportunity.
Yeah, it was really amazing to see these women take the ice and how excited they were. And if people didn't catch it, the iconic Billie Jean King addressed the players before the game. And, I had the opportunity to stand with her at center ice after the game with all the players. And I think it was that moment that really struck me that, we had created a watershed moment, that there would be no backing up from there. And that, I truly believe we will have a professional women's league, and we continue to build momentum. Obviously, this past weekend with the women taking the ice with the Chicago Blackhawks in Chicago and, again, broadcast nationally in Canada and the United States.
That's great. And as you said, that professional women in North America don't have a league right now. There was one and it was closed down. Of course, a setback, but I mean, you keep fighting for women's hockey. And if you're looking back a little bit, how have you seen the development for women's hockey and from a couple of years back and where we are today?
Yeah, well, it's important to note that the reason why those leagues didn't flourish really is not because of the lack of the product that's on the ice. In other words, how great the games are that the women play or the talent. It was really, to my point earlier, that they didn't have the appropriate resources and partnerships and infrastructure to support it. I think one of the things, looking back of where we were and where we are today, one of the things that it really comes to light is when you showcase these world-class athletes in a way that is on a level playing field with their male counterparts. That means with the appropriate marketing and awareness and exposure, at these world-class facilities, broadcast nationally with the appropriate broadcast team, the game is unbelievable. I mean, it's incredible. And we've seen that in the engagement. So what it really points to is they need to be showcased at the right level. And anyone who watches the Olympics sees that. These games sell out and their viewership is huge. Rivalry on ice is another example. And even just last year when the women took the ice at the NHL All-Star event, you could make the argument that they stole the show. And they were so exciting and dynamic to watch. And I really believe that the hockey community is ready for this. They've demonstrated that by stepping up and supporting the women. And as I said, the engagement around these first two showcases has been amazing. And we're moving forward with at least one more in the US and more of a tournament style showcase in Canada, which I think will be amazing. So once the league is, I think what's maybe exciting to your listeners in international markets is that once there is a professional league, the opportunities will be available for the best women all over the world to play in that league, just as we see in the NHL. So many superstars come from, all the different countries, Sweden, Finland, Germany, Russia, so this will be the same opportunity for women, which I think is really the most exciting thing and what makes it truly global.
Definitely. And because of the lack of a league in North America, a lot of players are now coming to the Swedish league. We are spoiled with the great women's hockey here now. And I mean, it's what you say, that if there is a women's league in North America, there will be the same as it is now with the men's NHL, that this will be the top league in the world.
I mean, it's so impressive, right? That and you're right. I think, in Sweden, you're so much more progressive and the women have those opportunities, which is amazing. And, some may continue to make that decision. But I think what is really important is that, girls have grown up, maybe dreaming of playing in the National Hockey League, to be told over and over again that that's not possible. And that's why it's so critical for there to be a professional women's league so that little girls can watch and actually dream and aspire to play professional hockey. And I had so many people reach out to me after these games were televised, mothers saying and fathers saying, wow, to watch these games with my daughters, they're glued to the TV and they're so inspired by this. And to hear from little girls saying, like, thank you for helping me believe that I can dream to play professional hockey. So I think, we have so much momentum. I really believe this is our time and this is our movement that started so many years ago. But we're at a tipping point right now. And so that's why it's so important that we move forward and continue to press forward and challenge any stereotypes and also ask people across the world and across the hockey community and outside our community to step up and support the women and create more opportunities for girls and women. We need more girls playing hockey, but we also need more women in our industry across our sport, coaching, advising, as general managers, scouting, and in different marketing roles, in roles like you're taking, in broadcast and all different types of media, to really foster this belief that if she sees it, she can be it. And I think we're one step closer, one giant step closer to that today.
Definitely. And you and your brother has used his foundation to collect money that will go directly to women's hockey.
Yeah, thank you so much for mentioning that. I reached out to my brother. I believe he's one of the greatest leaders in all sports, and I believe we need leadership, and we also need to hear men's voices. Women empower women, and that's really important. But we also need men to empower women and to stand up and support. And so in my mind, I thought, who better to go to than my brother, Mark? And as soon as I talked to him about it, he was completely on board. He said, sign me up. His foundation came to us and donated $100,000 against a match program, which means that every dollar raised becomes $2. And this week we created the 2021 challenge to ask people to step up and support opportunities for girls and women in hockey by donating any combination of 2021. So it could be $20.21. It could be $2.21. And obviously it could go higher, $2,000, $200. But every dollar counts. And as importantly, I think it's important that we share stories of why we believe it's important to celebrate women's hockey and to create opportunities. Because when people share their voices and their stories, it helps to inspire others. And so we ask people to donate if they can. Any amount is greatly appreciated. They can go to the markmessierfoundation.org/donate. And they can also share their stories on their social channels with family and friends. And let's really create energy and support for the women's game.
That's so great. And I will add also the link in the description if someone wants to go in and donate one of the combinations of 2021.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. It's great to see this. I hope people follow our Bauer account on social media because there's some great content there over the last little while that we've produced. There's just so many great highlights. So if you haven't been able to watch, you can catch some of the action there. And I think people will see how exciting it is. And as I said, we have so many athletes in all the international markets as well that are doing great work and are just phenomenal world-class athletes. So we look forward to a day when we can get all these athletes together. And the first probably time is around Women's Worlds, which was just announced that it's back on in May in Halifax. And I'll be there and I'll be so excited to greet all of our athletes in that showcase.
Yeah, looking forward to that. Is there something that I haven't asked you that you feel is important to mention, maybe especially around women's hockey?
I mean, you hit so many great topics. I think it's important for people to realize how much sacrifice these women have put in just to even get where they are. Many have had to play boys hockey growing all the way up. It hasn't been easy. It's very challenging. And the women that play in the PWHPA, they stood up and created a union for this mission to create a sustainable, viable, professional women's league where they can earn a living wage. Today, these women are training like world-class athletes and they have full-time jobs. Many of them as school teachers, firefighters, and other professions that make such an impact in our community. And so, in some of them, in what would be considered the pinnacle of their career, they're not playing until they get this professional league. So in this showcase, they're really demonstrating and showing the world that they deserve to have a league. And I think that's really important to note. Their sacrifice is really for the next generation so that they have dreams that they can aspire to. And I'm just so blown away by their sacrifice, by these women, the role models they are and the ambassadors they are for our sport. We need them. We need their voices and we need their leadership to make our game more inclusive and diverse.
Definitely. And that's so important to mention that they are training as much and as hard as the men. And on top of that, they're having full-time jobs. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, we did a segment with some of the women that work as firefighters. And if anyone's ever, kind of looked into that, I can't remember what the exact poundage is of this gear that they wear, but I want to say it's over 100 pounds when you don all the gear as a firefighter. Just imagine training as a world-class athlete. Anyone who's looked at the videos of how they train on and off the ice, it is really incredible, the physical toll that takes. And then to leave that training and to go work as a firefighter for an 8 or 12-hour shift is pretty mind-boggling. And just to hear their voices. So we actually produced a segment on that. And again, people can see that on our Bauer social channels on Instagram. And I think it's really amazing. And it's a tribute to these women, but it also calls out the importance of creating a professional league so that they can be professional athletes full-time.
Definitely. Something that I ask everyone is if you could choose the next guest on the podcast from a sports management perspective, who do you think that I should talk to?
Wow, that's such a great question. Because it's International Women's Day, of course, I'm going to select a woman. And because we're moving forward with the women's movement never stops. And in hockey, I'm going to keep it in hockey. I mean, there's so many great people you could think about. Hillary Knight, obviously, was part of the equality movement with USA Hockey, and she's an incredible ambassador. Jana Hefford is an advisor to the PWHPA and doing so much to move this mission forward in creating a sustainable league. But ultimately, you don't have to look much farther than Sweden. Two incredible superstars that are part of our Bauer team, and Emma Norden and Erica Graham. So I would say either one of those, or maybe you have them both on. That might be really interesting. Just world-class athletes, incredible role models and ambassadors for our game.
Definitely, that's very interesting. And also Erica Graham, she's playing obviously in Brynäs, and she's responsible for the women's division there. So that would be a very interesting guest.
And maybe one other person I could give a shout out to that you could have on with them is Bella Jordanson, our Bauer teammate, who's really leading the charge for women's hockey in international markets, doing incredible things, not only signing elite athletes, but figuring out how to grow the game with grassroots initiatives. So I think the three of those together, sometimes the best is to have this conversation. And I really enjoyed having the conversation with you today.
Mary-Kay, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the Sports Management Podcast. And for everyone listening, go in and follow Bauer Hockey on social media. And don't forget to donate to the Mary-Kay Messier Foundation.
Thank you so much for having me, Marcus. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to Sports Management Podcast. Do you have thoughts or ideas about this podcast, or do you know someone that I should interview next? Please reach out to me on sportsmpodcast@gmail.com or visit my website sportsmanagementpodcast.com. If you prefer social media, you can find me on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram at sportsmpodcast.